That's your boy Gooch.
Nope, that's Aaron. That is the boy Keys.
Right, that's Aaron. And this is the RogueHead Huddle with Gooch and Keys with our special guest, the Mod Father, once again as we conclude this series on our way too early 53-man predictions.
Check out all the other stuff we have on RGR. Shop at the store. Buy the All Juice t-shirt in honor of Therese. Watch the film that somebody puts out 2 or 3 times a week. Chief in the North on Thursday, live stream on Monday. Let's get to work.
So defense. We had Frank Clark and George Karlaftis. We cannot get rid of Frank if we wanted to after the restructure. How many more edge rushers do you guys have making the team in addition to Frank and George? We're talking about edge, not defensive tackle. What do you guys have for edge?
Well,
Leo Chenault.
Gooch, I know it's 5 a.m. there, but I think you're sleeping and you're having a dream.
I don't think there's anybody else, brothers. I mean,
you have 2 edges on this roster. Is that what you're saying?
well, Colin is considered a defensive tackle, right?
Right.
we've got to take Ingram out now.
What's Dana considered?
Dana's an edge.
Okay. So, Frank, Karlaftis, Dana. Is Tim Ward still on this team?
Who?
No.
You say Tim Ward?
Yep.
They tried to sneak him onto the practice squad last year, and I think the Jets signed him.
I would like to see Wharton at edge more.
Wharton. That's what I was thinking.
There's Kendo, Clark, Wharton, Karlaftis.
I forgot
Wharton.
about
Wharton's a defensive tackle, and we already locked him onto the roster. So.
All right, so
I've got him as a backup end. And Herring.
So I have Kendo and Dana making the roster. Although I do think it could come down to Dana versus Herring. But I still think it's Kendo and Dana.
I've got Dana back on with Ingram out. Since we had Ingram there. I believe we locked him.
Can't believe Ingram signed with the Dolphins. That bum.
They'll give you the money.
All right, so defensive tackle. Wait a minute, are we all at 2 edges here?
I was at 18.
Kendo and Dana, or what are we locked in on?
Kendo, Dana, Frank, and
Karlaftis. We had Frank and Karlaftis, so we're in agreement on those 4.
And then Kendo, it sounds like we're in agreement on him.
Kendo and Dana. Frank, George, Kendo, Dana. All right, defensive tackle. We have Jones, Wharton, and Noddy locked in. So to me, it's kind of a question of, do they keep 4 defensive tackles, 5 defensive tackles?
Colin Saunders makes this team.
Stallworth.
Yeah, I have this as Stallworth versus Saunders, and I like Saunders, but I think with the money that they gave Stallworth, that he's making the team.
And Saunders can't seem to stay healthy. But yeah, I like the guy too.
I would be thrilled if he showed out and he made the roster and stayed healthy. But Stallworth is kind of that yellow player for me. if they cut him, it's 300,000 in dead cap space, but they save like 750,000 if they cut him. So, you know, it's not one of those. That's kind of an either way win. Um, so I think it really depends on if Saunders is healthy and if 3 years into the system and, you know, with an off season with Joe Cullen, you know, what does Joe Cullen think? How is he progressing? And so I think that one can really go either way. And that's what it's really going to depend on is Saunders healthy and is he taking a leap forward that he hasn't really taken yet?
I'm with you.
But I think we're all in agreement that we have four defensive tackles, whether it's Stallworth or Saunders. And maybe they go with five because they do use Wharton more at edge. I mean, that's certainly, I could see that as well. Having what, that'd be 9 defensive linemen. I could see that. All right, linebacker. We had Bolton Gay and Chanel locked in. I made my arguments at the time that I believe Mike Rose is going to make this team as their coverage linebacker and special teams player. Um, and I think there's going to be one more linebacker. I think they'll have 5. And even though I would probably go with Jack Cochran or Darius Harris, I think Jermaine Carter is another player who's locked into this team based on the contract they gave him.
Who?
Jermaine Carter.
From where did we get him from?
Free agency. He was let's see if I can
Panthers,
pull it up.
wasn't
Panthers. Okay.
Yeah, Panthers.
There's also a Lee.
So here's why I say this about Jermaine Carter. And Gooch, I know that you don't think $1 million is anything, but Jermaine Carter's cap number is 1.77 million, and according to Over the Cap, if we cut him, all of that is dead money. So almost $2 million. To me, that says this is a player that they do believe basically 100% is making this team. That's my view. You don't guarantee, you're not going to cut a player like that. I mean, because it's not like we have all kinds of cap space.
Is he a special teamer?
I believe so. I believe that's his specialty, special teams.
Okay. Yeah. I could see Tobe wanting to lock him in.
Right.
Like
I think
that.
this is probably one of Tobe's guys where he went out and said, Veach, or Veach said, here's a list of players, and Tobe was like, I want this guy. And so that's my
exactly
guess
where
is
I
that
was
he
going.
that he makes this team based on that. Like he and Dion Bush and maybe Baker are guys who are locks because of the contracts they were given on defense.
I do like the Mike Ross pick too, though.
Right. Yeah. So for me, I have 5 linebackers.
So him and Ross are the backups.
That's who I have as mine.
Sounds perfect to me. Gooch.
That's where I was.
Okay. Thought you were gonna make me say it.
So heading into the DV room, that leaves me at 18 guys on the defense. And so if we end up with 26 or 28 on the offense, that's going to leave us with what, about 6 or 7 guys left
10.
on defense.
10. What'd you say, 13 and 26?
No, 13 was before we added. We just added 2 defensive. We just added 3 defensive linemen and 2 linebackers. That's 5. So that puts us at 18
And what was the
on
offensive number?
on defense. before adding anybody that we added, we started with 18 locks
Where
on
we at?
offense. So we added 3 running backs. That puts us at 21. We haven't solidified the wide receiver room. We added, 2 offensive tackles. That puts us at 23. And if you added another center, that puts you at 24. If you add Blake Bell, that puts you at 25 before you get to wide receiver number 5 or 6.
That's 41. We still got 12 men.
So if you go 27 offensive players, that means you have 23 defensive players. So that puts you at 5 more defensive backs.
26. 53-man roster, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the 3 special teamers.
Do they actually count as football players? I'm kidding, Holly. I'm kidding. We all love Tommy Town. Is it Townsend?
Well, I won't say what I was going to though. They count as players, but not as people, right? Is that where we went, or was it the opposite? They count as people, but
Somewhere,
not
Holly,
players.
a Gooch voodoo doll that she is about to stick pins in. Don't forget to like and subscribe, guys.
And tell us where you
All right,
agree and disagree.
So we're 10 spots out. So we're 10 spots out. If you add 2 more to the wide receiver, we're 8 spots out.
Tell us why Gooch is wrong.
Nowhere.
It is getting pretty late.
We have 5 defensive backs we can add. We have a 53-man roster, but it's 25 and 25 because you have 3 in special teams, not 26, so it's 25. We're at 18 on the defensive side without adding other cornerbacks and safeties or general defensive backs in. So if you go to 27 on the offensive side, that leaves you with 23 on the defensive side. So that would be five guys.
What?
So I mean, you're going to end up at 27 or 28 on the offensive side, depending on how many wide receivers you carry. If you carry 6, you're going to have 27, and that'll leave us with 23 on defense. If you go with 7 wide receivers, that would leave you with 22 on defense. And it sounds like that's how Gooch would lean anyway, because he didn't see 53 guys that he even wanted on the roster. So,
Well, I'm changing my mind on the tight end we don't really need anyway.
So when we go back to cornerback and safety, then we have 5 locked in, 2 cornerbacks and 3 safeties. They probably carry 4 safeties? Maybe 5, probably 4 though. How many cornerbacks?
Just the 4th. And then I've got 4 corners.
Yeah, I think 4 is light though.
It is.
Even if we play 3 safeties a lot, I think if they went that way, they'd go more towards the DB designated guys like Joshua Williams, DiCaprio Boodle, Devin Key, Zane Alexander, Nazi Johnson, who the roster has designated as defensive backs and not like cornerback or safety specifically.
I don't see Johnson making the team. I really don't.
Yeah, probably not, based on where they drafted him. Um, I
But
think Joshua
I like,
Williams was what, a fourth round pick, so
yeah,
he probably has a great chance to make the team.
I like
Um,
Watson's chances over Johnson.
um, again, I go back to Baker's contract though. I think Williams. See, this is a hard point because we haven't even seen him, play a
Right.
preseason game, and really that's gonna, you have to have that difference in there. Um, but I'm gonna say, based on being a fourth round pick, that Williams makes it. Dion Bush is the fourth safety, again because of the contract they gave him, and he plays special teams. Um, and Williams they have as a DB, so maybe he can play a little bit of both. Um, I think maybe Zane Anderson makes it as well because he has that same DB designation and he played special teams and was actually on the 53-man roster last year. Um,
I think he's gone.
but he's got that BYU connection, and I don't know that Andy. I mean, it could go either way. We really don't know.
Devin Key could be in there.
Yeah, he could.
Though I hope not.
But most of these guys have cuttable contracts, except for Bush. Again, Bush and Baker would really kind of hurt if we cut them.
What is Baker's?
It's somewhere around $1 million, without looking it up again. In dead cap, basically all of it if we cut them. And Gooch seems to think that we're going to cut Fenton, and I think if we got rid of him, we'd trade him. But I kind of have it as Fenton versus Lonnie Johnson. Watson to me seems like a player that they could slip on the practice squad. A lot of the guys on this list, Boodle, Key, Anderson, Z Johnson, Jalen Watson, seem like guys that they could probably fit on the practice squad. But I think part of it's going to depend on how they look.
Yeah, I have Lonnie Johnson making it. It's
I
really
think
faded out.
he will. I think he will too. I wouldn't be surprised if Fenton and Johnson and Williams and Bush are the final four guys on the defensive side of the ball. If we go with 7 receivers.
So I've actually got Snead, McDuffie, Johnson, Williams, Watson as our corners. Baker, jeez.
That's, how many was that? Like 7?
That would have been 6 with
Snead,
Baker.
McDuffie, Baker, Watson, Williams, Johnson. Did you say Fenton?
I did not.
I think he's on
him a lot, but I think he might be the odd man out.
I just don't see him. I don't see them cutting him. I'm not saying he's going to make the roster, but I would see him as a trade, a player that's traded.
I could see that.
So we might never.
I'd like to get something out of him if we're not going to keep him. I mean, geez.
Right. I think if Fortson's healthy, Bell gets cut, and that gives you the extra space for the receiver, and you could do that. But
But you're talking 7?
I think there's about 5 question marks, competitive question marks right now. If this player comes back healthy, this other player is gone. But if they don't, or, if they come back and they're not the same player, then, this player stays type of scenarios. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching this video from the team at RGR Football. Click these videos to see more and subscribe to RGR Football.